Hello, this is Fear Dragon, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players. Here on this show, we take a look at an up-and-coming North American talent. Each week, we check out a new player to get a feel for their personality and their playstyle. On Thursday, we interview the player to find out more about who they are and why you should care about them. On Friday, we watch 3 of their games as we cover their playstyle in each of the 3 matchups. Saturday, we take a look at an awesome game they played and relax with a little bit of fun as we recap the week and get an analysis of the games. Breaking Out will cover 8 players before it culminates into the Breakout Invitational. With a minimum prize pool of $1,000, we find out who is the most likely player to break out of the North American scene. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Hope you guys enjoy the show.
Game resumed.
Hello, this is Fear Dragon, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players that you need to know about. Today on the show, we're going to be covering the week of EJK from Core Gaming. Yesterday we did the interview, today we're doing the game day, and this is the first game. So I am joined here today by Nanman. How you doing today, man?
I am super excited to be able to cast up EJK again. I got to see him in the qualifiers, and now I get to cover him for this week. I'm so pumped for this.
He is definitely one of the lesser known players from the Breaking Out series this season, but let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players in this game as we spawn up here in the top left hand corner of the Red Terran player on Habitation Station. It is going to be, representing Core Gaming, EJK. And who's up there in the top right, man?
All right, so we've got spawning up in the top right-hand corner here. It's going to be our blue Zerg from Spite. It is Zurich.
I mean, Nanman, we were talking about this right before the game started, whether the Spite clan was like about Mrs. Spite, but just and based on that image, I assume it is about Mrs.
Yep.
Spite.
Looks like we were correct in that assumption, but I guess, you know, why not? Why not? There's clans for everything. You can put pictures now. So why would you not do that?
Hey man, Rifkin has a caster clan that I really want to join, and it's the image is like a black mage because it's a terrible pun on casters. Oh,
nice.
Can't really blame him. But what are we seeing so far in this game? We do see a gas opening. You think this is probably just going to be a Reaper opening?
Yeah, it's very standard to see. Like the TvZ matchup is pretty interesting to see. Like very often we just see that 1 or 2 Reapers and then jump right into Hellions from here. On this map, I'm kind of iffy with going for the Reaper opening just because it's not as easy to be jumping inside the main base, but a lot of times players will just play what they're comfortable with when they're playing like TvZ and stuff like that, so I don't blame him for opening up with the Reapers here.
Yeah, and I actually want to really quickly note that I like what Zerk is doing. Zerk obviously does not, or only just recently found out what exactly EJK was up to, but he's kind of actually looking around with his bottom overlord for any kind of proxy shenanigans that could be going on. Kind of a good sign for a player to actually be looking out for those things with those early overlords. I mean, otherwise, it's kind of just like a waste to send those overlords straight across the map and then have them sit and do absolutely nothing.
Yeah, very good point. And you know, you're playing ZVT there. That's a very common spot to proxy extra barracks. So you know, playing smart on Zurich's part here. But we do have that first Reaper already zipping across. Looks like that second one is queued up, and I don't expect him to make much more than 2. Sometimes if he starts to do a lot of damage, we might see him queue a few more up. But he's already got his command center started. I wouldn't be surprised if he just saves up to get that factory going.
Now, one thing that's worth noting that we haven't talked about is the fact that Zerg did go ahead and get up that relatively early gas geyser, and that allowed him to get up that Zergling speed of research. So it is going to be starting just now. It's going to be a while before it actually finishes, but you know, he should feel pretty comfortable once the Queens pop out and dealing with this single Reaper, as well as even when the second Reaper kind of makes its way across the map.
Yeah, and that's like another good thing to note. With this map, like you have the Queens, you've got the Lings, that there's not really a lot of surface area for those Reapers to get in. So as long as you play smart, you shouldn't take too much damage.
Yeah, and actually kind of interesting, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. EJK leaving one of his Reapers at home, just kind of trying to get ready to pick off Zerglings, and I know it's a very common thing for Zerg players that when they see these Reaper openings, they send 2 Zerglings across the map to try and pick off the SCV building in that command center. Do you think that's the reason why he left that there?
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point there. Like, you know, play it safe, play it defensive. You have that 1 Reaper for scouting vision, checking for that 3rd base there, so why not play a little bit safer in that regard? And it's a good thing that he has that there, you know, just in case, like you said, those run-bys come to deny his expansion on the low ground. But looks like the Reaper's going to get in here and sees a lot more Lings produced, so that is at least a good intel of kind of what Zurich is planning to do for these next stages.
Yeah, he's going to want to be a little bit careful and get ready for some kind of answer to these Zerglings. The Zerglings, generally, I think you do see a decent number of Zerglings being made around this time just because the Hellions are going to be popping out, but with 24 more Zerglings on the way, that is a little bit abnormal. I am definitely sure that Zerg wants to do a lot of damage over here. He's coming into the natural expansion with these Zerglings and forcing a lift up on the command center. How is EJK going to respond? I mean, he has just been going for a fast third command center style behind this.
Yeah, fast third. He only really has his Hellions and Reaper as like a defense against this. So it's really going to come down to that micro and really come down to his control and how well he scouts these Banelings coming his way. And looks like using that command center, we'll see them coming. So we got to wait and see how he does.
Yeah, he has SCVs ready to try and repair the supply depots, but unfortunately for EJK, that's not going to be working out too well. The SCV is actually on the wrong side, though, so at least he's not going to be losing those. Hellions are going to be very, very cost-effective against these Zerglings as long as they can get good angles.
Ooh, and getting some decent surface areas, some of the Lings are, but those SCVs in the front taking a lot of those Ling damage, so the Hellions able to do a lot of damage. And actually, Zerg only killing off 5 SCVs in that whole push. A lot invested to it and not a lot of reward.
Yeah, and more Zerglings just being made for Zerg. This is going to be a really, really awkward situation for him because now he's going to have to try and do damage with those Zerglings. Does he morph in more Banelings? I mean, he doesn't have a third expansion behind this, and EJK has his third expansion already done. Even if he lost a handful of SCVs and he's even on work accounts, he's actually way ahead in the economy right now.
Yeah, you make a very good point with that. I mean, he can triple Mule, triple SCV it up at this time and really just kind of power up for those next stages. And Zerg's response is to get into that lair, start taking the additional gas, like he's going to go up to 4 gas here. And I guess that's kind of the route he has to go. Try to make something happen with the Lings he's got and just tech up and try to catch his opponent off guard in later stages. But EJK has been playing super solid so far, so I don't think he's going to make anything happen with these Lings.
It's going to be really, really difficult with a wall going up at the front of the natural expansion for EJK. And yeah, as you were saying, he can just kind of produce a ton of SCVs, he can throw down the mules, etc. And this kind of goes to show what EJK was talking about in his interview. He said that he liked to play these sort of more macro-oriented games. In the later stages of the game, he kind of goes a little bit crazy with... He said it wasn't necessarily aggression, but just a lot of being active on the map in the later stages of the game. So in the early stages, he wants to focus on the game, that really strong game. And everything kind of has been lining up for that. I mean, going for that fast 3cc style, and now he has a lot of Hellions to have that map presence and really seize control of the map.
Yeah, and this is actually the really important part in this game here. When you get those Hellions out, when you check for that third base, deny creep tumors and stuff, and he's actually going to get over here and he'll be like, okay, you still don't have a third. You know, one good thing, you know, check the natural, see what sort of defense there is. And he sees there's not a lot, so he's going to try to run in, but dangerous with all those Lings. He's got to be careful.
Yeah, he ends up taking out a lot of those Zerglings, but does end up losing a lot of his Hellions. The Spinecrawler really adding to the DPS of all this. And I want to just really quickly note that EJK did scout one of the third locations. He didn't look like he scouted the gold expansion, but I'm pretty sure that he just kind of checked while he was at the Zelnaga Watchtower and said, okay, there's nothing really, I don't see any kind of like mining going on or creep spread. I mean, Crusader would be the one big tell.
Yes, yeah, very true.
So he's going to be feeling pretty good about his situation right now, I think. I'm actually really curious to see whether or not he ever even decides to land that third command center down anywhere, because at this point, you're sitting on 3 command centers versus a 2-base Zerg. You've just got to be thinking, how do I hold off whatever the heck he's about to do to me?
And now we do see all the turrets starting to go down. I mean, it's basically like, all right, you're on 2 bases. You tried for that bust, didn't really do much damage. I'm just going to play super smart against kind of a normal follow-up that I expect in this sort of TvZ situation like that. And he has the Watchtower, so he'll see the Mutas flying.
He sees them coming over, and honestly, I don't know how much damage they're going to be able to do. EJK didn't just kind of go with a very, very light response. He just said, you know what? I am way ahead of my opponent. I can sacrifice making a couple extra turrets just to defend, say, the tech labs, the reactors, and all that kind of good stuff, and still stay ahead. And I think that's a really, really good and smart decision. I mean, why take the risk that your opponent's just going to start to outplay you with Mutalist play or something? Just throw down a couple extra turrets. You'll still be ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, he's already grouping up all those Marines inside of his main base as well, and having those Hellions out on the map actually delayed the Mutas that much longer since he sent them over to that third base, so forcing Zerg back and allowed all this defense to get up and running. And now we're going to see if Zerg can actually get anything done. He's going to try to find some angle in the main base, but there's really no good angle for him to go in where he won't take a lot of damage.
Yeah, and the Mutiles count is just not high enough just yet to actually take on even single missile turrets around those SCVs, because, I mean, the SCVs just start repairing the missile turret, and without enough Mutiles, you just don't have the DPS to actually kill it off. You just end up losing a bunch of Mutiles, and, I mean, the Terran's trading it for minerals that are, and a little bit of mining time. Like, it's really, really a favorable trade for the Terran players, so I think that the Zerg player over here, Zurich, is going to just have to back up, try and poke around with the Mutiles a little bit, but just try and get up that big ball of Mutiles. And I would love to actually see a little bit of crease spread extending out from the Zerg player.
Yeah, that is one thing that he is slightly lacking at this point, just going straight up into the, larva injects. But normally you'll see those additional queens get produced just for that creep spread. But
Yeah.
as of right now, not relying on it. And we can see really a huge boom in EJK's army supply as, because of the fact that all of those tech structures have been able to just kind of mass produce. But mutants have found that angle they were looking for, able to zip in, take out that missile turret. Couple Marines there. Widowmine actually unable to burrow, so Muta's still left unchecked, but there is a small push going up to the natural, and there's not much defense right now for Zurich.
Yeah, this is going to be a very awkward situation right now, as those Mutiles were doing a lot of damage, but it looks like a handful of Marines are able to come in over there for EJK. EJK also trying to poke in at the natural convention. You were saying target firing down a lot of those Banelings. Banelings looking for the connections, unable to get it. EJK is splitting at the absolute last second and going with a liftoff to actually not really lose too many of his Marines. A pretty good push in, and I mean, trading a handful of those Marines for all those Banelings is going to be worth it, but oh, the Mutiles find the Medivacs, and this is going to be a nice little trade for Zurich.
Yeah, great pickup there, taking out those medevacs, taking out those Marines, and denying that orbital command from landing. But, the next pack of Marine comes over, but ends up losing another medevac in the process. So good pickup there for Zurich.
And he managed to keep alive a lot of those Banelings. Oh my god, those Banelings are perfectly in sync where they're walking. That was a little bit crazy. But yeah, more important things are going on. We have a gold expansion being taken for EJK now. Nanman, do you think that this is a very safe thing to do right now?
I think, because of how far ahead he was feeling earlier in the game, like he held off that push initially, he delayed his opponent's third for so long, that right now they're pretty much even supply and more or less even economically, that it's perfectly reasonable. Since his main force is Marines, why not go for the gold here?
And we are going to be seeing those Mutiles try and find whatever kind of pickoffs they can. EJK stimming up with a handful of those Marines. The missile turret going to be repaired, and it is going to actually be enough to fend off those Mutiles. Even gets one for his troubles. And EJK looking pretty strong right now, Nanman, but we do have a gold expansion going down for Zurich.
And that's a great response. He knows he can't kind of move in and attack his opponents, but got to be careful with those mutants. You still have to be active with them. Don't want them to just sit there on your opponent's side of the map. So right now, though, both players kind of concentrating on those upgrades. Zurich's 2-2, a little bit more behind his opponent, but he's getting +2 flyer as well as that melee and ground carapace there. So, gearing up in a nice position for these kind of mid-game battles. But one thing that is going to be tough for Zurich is fighting against all those Widow Mines that his opponent is getting. So in response, he's getting that pneumatized carapace so he can start getting that Overlord speed. But, Mutalisk coming in, going for that engagement, taking out Widow Mines, taking out Medivacs, and cleaning up a lot of Marines. And EJK playing a little bit sloppy, not having those Widow Mines burrowed there for defense.
Yeah, he actually floated in a lot of those Marines with the Medivacs trying to go for the defense, but, I mean, one of the Medivacs ended up getting picked off, and the other one also just got picked off by the Mutiles before they could actually fully unload. So it's a little bit unfortunate for EJK. It was a nice kind of attempt at a move, but it didn't end up working out quite as well as I think he would have liked it to.
Ooh, and this is going to be dangerous, trying to drop at that gold.
Man.
He also's got 2 dropships down at that third base going in, but looks like gold base going to get defended nicely. Mutalists take out all the Medivacs. Marines will get cleaned up, but that third taking a lot of damage here.
And this is what EJK said he likes to do in the late game. He likes to focus more on that micro, kind of make that transition out, and he is doing a great job. He does a lot of damage over that third expansion. Actually, even a lot of Banelings. Oh my god, where did those Banelings actually explode on? It looks like they weren't exploding on anything.
Wow, a little bit of a misclick there, obviously, from Zurich coming out, and just trying to deal with all this multi-pronged harassment of EJK is kind of putting it strain on him right now. And there's another big push coming across Marauders, Marines, and Widow Mines geared up in this. So as soon as he gets those burrowed in, it's going to be very dangerous for Zurich to engage.
Oh, but the Banelings are coming in, man. They're getting some pretty decent hits off, and he's actually going to be able to force EJK to lift off and boost out of there. But he's going to be boosting over the gold, but I mean, it looks like the missile turret will just be enough of a reason for Zerg to actually back up, but God, Zerg has so many banelings on the way, man. We're going to be seeing a huge engagement over here. Again, the only thing that I really wish Zerg was doing was getting that creep spread up, because that would help these banelings so much.
Oh yeah, especially the Lings going in for those counters and streaming across, getting those surrounds that he needs. So, I mean, his army's looking pretty scary, though. You have to give him that.
Yes.
He's sitting there at 2-2 on all of his units, pretty much. His Mutas have +2 attack, but, oh, Mutalisk getting caught off guard. Good eyes there for EJK. He's got the watchtower. He's keeping track of everything and chasing down all those Mutalisks, but a lot of Lings and Banelings moving in, trying to go for an engagement here.
Yeah, they're just kind of dancing back and forth between each other, neither of them really wanting to overcommit to this, because if you overcommit or get a bad engagement angle, you end up losing your entire army, and probably the safety of those gold expansions. Those gold expansions so important right now, as they're just getting so much income, but we have other expansions going up, and one of those expansions is going to be very close to being under siege from the Zerg player. Zerg looking for a snipe off.
Ooh, lots of Lings streaming in. Banelings rolling in as well. Mutalisk flying over top, and a couple of Banelings crashing into each other, but nice hot pickup coming out from EJK. Will save a lot of his forces.
And it looks like the Zerg player are going to be able to charge in over here to the natural expansion. The Banelings have been expended, and there are actually still a handful of Marines left over, amazingly enough, by EJK. Manages to rally in just enough units at the very last second to actually defend. And wow, I actually was getting a little bit scared for EJK at that point. I mean, he just had all of those Zerglings and Banelings sitting in the middle of his natural expansion, as well as the Mutalisk flock, but the Mutalisk flock is actually diminished quite heavily now.
Yeah, a lot of them actually tried to retreat right over top of a handful of Marines, and Widowmines, a couple of them did take a lot of damage from that, but good splits coming out, taking a couple shots there, but overall good control from EJK, able to charge into the gold base now, pretty much uncontested. A lot of drones going to get killed off again.
Yeah, and all the Banelings are pretty much gone for Zerg right now. And this is a really good identification by EJK, knowing that he can be this aggressive once the Banelings are picked up. The Zerglings are trying to come in to defend, but they honestly are just not that effective. Mutals are actually doing a good job actually taking out those medevacs, but oh, they overcommit just a little bit. And Zerg is going to go ahead and leave the game as EJK manages to take the game. And man, wow, what were your thoughts about those last couple of seconds?
That was pretty crazy. I mean, it really came down to EJK having great control in that last engagement with those Lings and Banelings were charging towards his natural. He had some great hot pickups, saving a lot of his forces in those medevacs, able to keep those alive and just kind of power through and just kind of ram it down Zerg's throat. I mean, those great controls against those Banelings, splitting his Marines, keeping a lot alive, and just kind of came down to not having that creep spread there and just a little bit of bad engagements for Zerg in the end.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And even those bad engagements, I mean, I'm not sure if Zurich really could have avoided this engagement. Right. I mean, he already got to use the Banelings to try and get the best hits off that he could. And he got off some pretty decent hits, but EJK, of course, doing a good job splitting. But once EJK moved up to that gold expansion, I mean, the gold expansion was important for Zurich. Zurich was mining off of really just those bottom two bases. And if you end up losing that gold expansion, EJK was going to be on that gold expansion as well as that middle left-hand expansion, and I think that he also had another command center. Okay, no, he didn't actually have it. So, yeah, I don't know. I maybe actually, now that I see that, maybe I would have even liked it to see a Zerg to kind of just give up that gold expansion instead of kind of trading out the Mutals. He was going for the medevac snipes, but I don't think it worked out very well, as we could see.
No, I mean he did a good job with that earlier in the game. Like, had some great pickoffs with the medevacs, but at that point where he's struggling to produce an army, it's like, all right, you know what? I'll take a better engagement maybe at my natural, at my third, where I can really get that surround, because that's a really hard angle for a Zerg to go in to try to defend that gold base there. Yeah,
especially against, like, 3-3 Marines. You're still sitting on 2-2. I mean, props to Zerg for getting the +2 weapons upgrade for his Mutals. I feel like some Zerg players just, they get, like, one upgrade on their Mutals, and then they just stop.
They're like, all right, I'm done.
And I mean, like, really good players will do this, like, good Koreans like Kodes and stuff, but good on Zerg. But, you know, really nice job by EJK. I love the way that he kind of opened up with different mentalities at different stages of the game, where he opened up with a fairly macro-oriented style, just kind of holding back, and it made sense. He was basically up against a really big Baneling bust. But yeah, so he held on with a macro-oriented style. Then he kind of moved into a little bit of pressure while he took some expansions, and then he just kind of went like all-out aggressive mode with like basically picking a Zerg apart.
All those multi-pronged drops and harassments really paid off. I mean, he killed so many drones this game. 42 drones got killed off.
Oh my god.
That just really shows how well he played that multitasking style. So.
Indeed. But, you know, with that being said, man, we are going to be jumping into the next game. So if you're watching this over on Twitch, stick around. We're going to be doing a short intermission. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and find the Zerg versus Terran for EJK. It should have been uploaded around the exact same time. But we will see you guys in just a little bit. Don't go anywhere.